CBS News political director John Dickerson is with us now. So obviously both sides fired up over this. But at the end of the day, what matters is whether or not this whole Bain Capital line of attack resonates with voters. Does it?
Well, it remains to be seen. I mean, the president said in the abstract he doesn't want to make it disqualifying, but in the specific, he wants to make Bain a four-letter word. And so that's what they're trying to do. And the argument here and whether it resonates with voters is basically the president wants this to be a question of who looks out for you, who's going to care for you. And Mitt Romney wants it to be who's going to fix this thing. And so that's the question. And what the president's trying to do is keep it focused on who cares about you and then disqualify Mitt Romney on that question.
One of the other things that the Romney campaign jumped on was what the president told Charlie yesterday when he asked him, essentially, did you learn anything? Were there any mistakes from your first term that you can learn going into a second term if you get one? Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
You know what, when I think about what we've done well and what we haven't done well, the mistake of my first couple of years was thinking that this job was just about getting the policy right. And that's important. But, you know, the nature of this office is also to tell a story to the American people that gives them a sense of unity and purpose and optimism, especially during tough times. It's funny, when I ran, everybody said, well, you can give a great speech, but can you actually, you know, manage the job? And then in my first 2 years, I think the notion was, well, you know, he's been juggling and managing a lot of stuff, but, you know, where's the story that tells us where he's going? And I think that was a legitimate criticism. And so getting out of this town, spending more time with the American people, listening to them, and also then being in a conversation with them about where do we go together as a country. I need to do a better job of that in my second term.
Better job of explaining.
Yeah, well, explaining, but also inspiring.
So it's almost like he's suggesting that the narrative really is the problem.
Yeah, I mean, this is a little bit of a humble brag. This is a little bit of, I was so busy doing my job, I didn't talk about it. So the question, though, is whether it's the policies or the packaging. And for a lot of critics, this will sound like, you know, we heard you. We know exactly what you're doing, and we don't like what you're doing. Yeah. And the president talks about stories, but nothing tells a story like success. And so, you know, in his defense, and there would be plenty of Obama supporters who would say, yes, this is the problem. He's done all these great things, but how do they get through? So the real question at the end of the day is, how much can a president communicate? You know, in campaigns you talk, but it's in a very different way than you talk in office. And the question is whether a president can actually do that much as a communicator. He has a great megaphone, but it can only take him so far. And at the end of the day, it may be that presidents just have to do what they're going to do and recognize that they're going to take a hit, and you can't tell a good story to fix it.
Interesting that they're both actually, though, when you look at it, both candidates get a little bit of criticism for maybe not communicating as well as they need to. Yeah. We do want to ask you about this. Drudge Report is saying that Condoleezza Rice is on the short list as a running mate for Mitt Romney. We asked her about that recently on this very program. She had a pretty clear response. We want to play that.
You are not saying you would turn him down if he calls, are you?
I'm saying there is no way that I will do this, because it's really not me. I know my strengths, and Governor Romney needs to find someone who wants to run with him. There are many people who will do it very, very well, and I'll support the ticket.
That's a no, or it's not going to happen?
It's not going to happen. And no.
So any chance, she was pretty clear there, but is there a chance that she could in fact change her mind?
Well, it's almost a requirement of being a possible person to say no. So she's done that part. You have to say no. I think we don't know what the inside of the Romney process is, but talking to people in the campaign, she's definitely somebody that they're looking at. She would be very dynamic in a number of ways. But the downsides for her are that Mitt Romney hasn't had to really talk about the Bush years very much. He's been able to detach himself from this, particularly the foreign policy side. If she were on the ticket, he would have to talk about 8 years of Iraq, Afghanistan. Was it a mistake? Would you have gone in knowing what you know now? There are a lot of issues that come up. And the other thing is, as many talents as she hasn't had to deal with the cut and thrust of the domestic political scene. Right. She's always been able to say, you know, I deal with the adult stuff, the real exploding things. But this would be daily cut and thrust, talk about Bain and all these things that are now a part of the campaign, she wouldn't necessarily be able to fulfill that vice presidential role.
Which she said in that
Or
same
want
interview.
to,
She
it
said
seemed like.
politics aren't really her thing.
Yeah.
So, but we will see. You never know, right, John?
That's right.
As always, thank you.
Nice to have you in the studio today. Thanks.